It's been 16 years to the day since the world changed forever and almost 3,000 people were murdered in coordinated terror attacks in the US. Sadly, the threat of homegrown extremism in our own country has become worse, but our jails have a very specific way of dealing with those charged and convicted of such crimes. A Current Affair has been given extraordinary access to a prison system few on the outside have ever seen. Alison Petrowski has our report.
For a terrorist, this is where you come.
They raided us yesterday and took all our phones.
They have very little regard for discipline and it is certainly a challenge for the staff.
If any of them yell out or want to talk to you, just keep on walking.
Have inmates ever been aggressive towards you?
You know, I've been bitten a couple of times.
You've been bitten?
These people have a very perverse interpretation of their religion. They're prepared to die for their religion and they want lots of people to die with them.
When SuperMax opened in 2001, it was home to our most violent murderers, rapists and crime bosses. But these are different times. Today, SuperMax is essentially a jihadi jail.
It's a fortress within a fortress. Behind these gates lies Australia's most notorious and dangerous criminals. They plotted to behead, to bomb, to terrorise our community. And now they're in the most secure facility in Australia, the High Risk Management Correctional Centre. We know it as SuperMax.
What I see at SuperMax is the last line of defence.
Tonight we have been given rare access to the holding pen, together with Corrective Services New South Wales Commissioner Peter Severin.
All metal has to go through again, the metal detector.
This is now
Minister for Corrections David Elliott, all under the guidance of Glenn Piazza, SuperMax Manager of Security.
Even if I was going to talk to an inmate, I have to take someone with me.
So it's never one-on-one?
Never.
SuperMax is divided into 3 units. Unit 9 is where the convicted prisoners are kept. Unit 8 holds unsentenced prisoners, and Unit 7 holds prisoners for the first 14 days of their sentence, as well as prisoners segregated for causing trouble.
AA unsentenced, which AA is our terrorist-related inmates, we have 20 of them. Okay, so it's still going through the court systems. AA, which is sentenced inmates, we have 11.
We start with Unit 8. The prisoners' names are revealed on cards above their cells. We can't identify them for privacy reasons, but we can tell you that this unit houses 2 of the men allegedly involved in the shooting of Curtis Cheng, and a man who attempted to flee to Syria to fight alongside Islamic State.
You'll see in front of the cells, it's what we call their day yards, so they have access to those day yards. And then behind the cells, if you have a look through the cell, you'll see that they've got their backyards where they have access to those backyards as well.
SuperMax prisoners are only allowed to associate with one other inmate to prevent them from colluding. 2 men will share a common front room called the day yard, which are attached to their separate individual cells.
So you've got the bed, you've got the shower, and you've got the toilet.
That's it.
And that's it?
Yes. So the cell is designed to be as safe as it can be. It has no ligature points, meaning that nothing can be tied off that could be useful to harm a person or to harm themselves by trying to hang themselves, etc.
The inmates also have access to outside areas, a backyard.
I do a bit of exercise. I'll hang off the bars. But this is SuperMax. They're here to be punished. So most of them will die in here.
And then there's the running track.
So they've been well behaved?
That's right, correct. There are no misconducts. They're polite to staff. They participate with psychology and with our counsellors as well.
Today we notice that the men taking advantage of their special privileges are a Sharia law implementer, a terrorist recruiter and a member of the Pendennis Nine.
This is probably the best part of their day, would be walking around in this circle.
The next stop is Unit 9, where one inmate pauses from his letter writing, realises we're filming and proceeds to give the Islamic State one-fingered salute. In Unit 9, we see the mastermind of a major terrorism plot, alongside Australia's most notorious serial killer. He's one of the very few of the 46 inmates not on terrorism offences. The most disturbing thing about SuperMax is the age of some of the inmates.
There is one wing where the average age, I think, is about 24 years old, and that is quite perverse.
The reason why these convicted and suspected terrorists are so young is thanks to the rise of Islamic State. In recent years, the Muslim extremist groups recruited far and wide across the globe.
In a dramatic day of developments, a 22-year-old
targeting fresh faces ripe for radicalisation. They found some here in Australia, and many of them are now the responsibility of the SuperMax staff.
Do they tend to cause you and your staff a lot more trouble? Are they more vocal? Are they more aggressive?
They certainly are, and also they are quite young in comparison. The phenomenon is really one of harbouring radical beliefs and engaging in extreme violent behaviour within a very short period of time.
The inmates are not allowed to communicate in any language other than English. Their conversations with visitors are monitored and their mail is scanned and stored. In these SuperMax cells, there are subtle hints of religion, daily prayers, halal food.
Inmates are allowed to practice their faith, they're allowed to engage in religious ceremonies, and that is as far as it goes. Using religion, however, to justify criminal behaviour and extreme violence is certainly something that we would nip in the bud very quickly.
The battle to stop convicted terrorists contaminating other inmates is a new fight that prison systems are facing around the world. They're all trying to find the right model to stop their jails becoming a breeding ground for extremists.
In other countries, terrorists are separated and spread throughout the system, an approach intended to make de-radicalisation easier. But here at SuperMax, they're grouped together, quarantined away from the other inmates, so as not to radicalise them.
Unfortunately, we do have to prepare for the fact that the war against terror has probably got another 20 years to go. And that war will see prisoners coming in from foreign fighters who may have been convicted under Australian laws on their return, or indeed for any homegrown terrorists.
With SuperMax already at capacity and this expectation of an even bigger flood of wannabe terrorists, the New South Wales government has invested $47 million over 3 years to tackle radicalisation in our prison system. SuperMax itself will nearly double in size, from 45 inmates to 75, and redesigned especially to deal with the terrorist threat.
Well, there'll be changes to intelligence gathering, there'll be changes to assessments, of course, but at the moment, my major focus, my main concern is to make sure that $47 million does deliver those extra beds.
Do you see those who do appear to show signs of wanting to disengage from what they've previously been associated with?
We do. It is not necessarily a process that sort of happens overnight. It is a long process where we have to undertake very careful assessments, monitoring behaviour, obviously working very closely with the law enforcement and intelligence agencies. But ultimately, of course, the aim is to offer people opportunity to progress through the system.
Prisoners have complained about the conditions in SuperMax, but from what we could see, it was clean and spacious.
What kind of things can they have in their cell? I'm assuming it's not much.
Yeah, they generally have a television, a jug and a radio.
In fact, their cells seem to be nicer than their neighbours over in Goulburn's maximum security prison.
You can imagine it's not very comfortable.
No.
All the cells are fitted out with a TV here in this area, and it goes on their behaviour as well. If their behaviour's not up to scratch, well, we can take their TV and stuff off them.
Barry Butterfield has been working in prisons for 30 years, the bulk of his time here at Goulburn Correctional Centre, where he's a senior correctional officer. This prison is the main prison. There are no terrorists here, just serious criminals.
They'll all come to the front of the yards wanting to know what's going on, and they'll be yelling out to you, etc. And, you know, they'll want to know why you're here, what you're reporting about and stuff like that. So be prepared for that, yeah.
I'm prepared, let's go.
Okay.
Goulburn is the only prison in Australia that divides its inmates based on ethnicity. It's a controversial practice. There's the Aboriginal yard, the Aussie Islander yard, and the Lebanese yard.
She's a lady out, I know on TV. Hey.
Oh, wake up today!
Do you find that causes less trouble?
Oh, most definitely. You'll find that these blokes will all get on when they're walking past and stuff like that, but just little bits of intel that you pick up, it wouldn't work if they were all to mix.
So true.
That big building down here.
In his time, Barry has really seen it all.
People getting stabbed, you know, people being jumped on, people being bashed. pretty bad.
Have inmates ever been aggressive towards you?
No, I've been bitten a couple of times.
You've been bitten?
With uses of force and stuff like that, but I'm extremely happy with the people I work with, and I know they've always got your back. And when you go into an incident where, you know, it's pretty heavy, you can always rely on your mates.
There's no question that the staff at SuperMax and Goulburn Correctional Centre have an incredibly difficult job. The logistical nightmare of juggling nearly 600 inmates, the worst of the worst, on a day-to-day basis. Throw in the frightening spread of radicalisation and the knowledge that they're keeping the rest of us safe.
Staff are human beings and they come to work and do a damn good job on a daily basis.
And what happens over the course of the next 20 years is it's all new space, and we want to make sure that we have the best minds in the country advising us on it. We want to make sure that we have the best infrastructure in the prison system to ensure that we can do the job.
It is controversial, but the decision to segregate radicalised inmates from other prisoners is being closely watched by our counterparts in Europe and the US who are facing the same threat.